I think everybody would probably agree digital is just part of the marketing framework now. So there is no questions anymore about should it be. It is. We're all consumers. I mean, you and I are both a consumer. We work with customers, and as consumers, almost everything we do has some sort of a digital aspect, or it's fully online. I mean, I think about Amazon. Like most people globally know what Amazon is now, and I mean, you don't even have to leave your couch. You pull up your phone or your computer, you order whatever you want, and you have it delivered right to your door. So you talk about a fully digital experience, and that involves marketing.
Thanks for tuning in to the Wisenetix Podcast. I'm Darryl. I'm the head of sales with Wisenetix. Happy to have you here as a listener. Today, we've got Trevor Gies with Cobb Vantress with us. Trevor's the senior marketing manager over at Cobb Vantress. Trevor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Darryl. Appreciate you having me on here.
Hey, super happy to have you here. Always love talking with you. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yes, as you said, I'm Trevor Gies. I've been with Cobb almost 9 years. So I'm the senior marketing manager here. I also head up global communications for Cobb, so I get to work with our global teams, everybody from marketing to sales, tech service, and everybody in between. So it's a fun role. You've got to experience a lot just in this industry. I love the poultry industry, but just ag in general. I've got some background there too, and so yeah, happy to talk with you today and maybe impart some wisdom and marketing insights. We'll see.
Awesome. Yeah. That's you're a man of many hats, Trevor.
Try to be.
It's good to be that way. But we have a few questions we ask everybody. Next one for you is, what would you consider your top 3 achievements?
Oh man, my first one maybe is a little cheesy, but being a dad. I've got 3 kids, and for me, that was always like one of those things that you just wanted to accomplish at some point in my life. So again, it may sound cheesy, but for me, that's one of the biggest accomplishments I think I've ever had. It's just being a dad. And obviously there's a lot of responsibility and other things that come along with being a parent. But that's one of my biggest privileges that I think I have each day. Another one is probably just from a career standpoint, getting to where I'm at today. So I've kind of took an unconventional approach. Started in the sports world. Thought I was going to be a sports guy, and tried that out and just didn't like it. It wasn't the right thing. And then moved over to the agency world, spent some time there, worked in the food supply chain, and then just through networking, ended up in the poultry industry, which if you would have asked me 20 years ago if I'd be in the poultry industry, I'd probably say you're crazy, but here I am. So, for me, that's another big accomplishment. Third one, I would probably say this last year, I've taken more of an approach of learning. It's like I'm not going back for a degree or anything like that, but it's just more about, what do I need to do to push myself, personally, professionally. So, doing some LinkedIn courses and, trying to read more and just some of those types of things. So it's not really just one accomplishment on that front, but for me, that's been a big push, and I would consider that an accomplishment because I've completed some of those courses and I've read different books, and for me, that's an accomplishment.
Yeah, no, all of those are awesome. Like, not cheesy, by the way, the dad thing. Being a dad's one of my favorite things too. Certainly challenging at times, especially with a few teenagers, but I love it. I love what you said about learning. You can see I have a lot of books that I too am going through. Most of those I haven't touched, but I love that. But I kind of want to dig into the sports thing. Were you going to play? Were you going to be a recruiter? What were you looking to do?
Yeah, so my thing coming out of school, I wanted to play professional sports. I played football, but my mantra was if I couldn't play professional sports, I was going to work in it. Mm-hmm. I was a good athlete. Obviously didn't make it to the pros, which is fine. It's like 1%, I think, that actually makes it to the pros. But I did have an opportunity, again, through networking, and to intern with, at that time, it was the St. Louis Rams football team. Now they're in Los Angeles. But yeah, that was an awesome experience and part of my development, my career, my professional career. But just figured out that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And that's, to me, that's the point of internships. That's why you do those, to learn, is this what I really want to do? The sports world is awesome. I still love sports. I'm a sports nut. But for me, the business side of sports and then just the fun side, there was too much of a clash there.
Yeah.
It wasn't for me.
Yeah. The only reason I asked is a good friend of mine was a scout for baseball right out of college and kind of did the same thing. Loved sports, played it, wasn't in that top 1%, right? But wanted to be in it. And then he was like, I was in Fort Myers scouting at these games, and I realized I've been eating hot dogs and Fritos for 2 years, living out of a motel. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Thanks for expanding a bit on that. Final question before we move into some more marketing stuff. And I always find this eye-opening. What do your parents think you do, Trevor? Or not what they think of you, but what do they think you do? Like, what do they think your job encompasses?
So ironically, my dad was a marketing guy. So I always joke that growing up, you hear about like Army brats or other things. I was a marketing brat. We were always moving around for different jobs and roles. So I feel like I kind of grew up in the business marketing world. So I know my dad understands it. He gets it. I think my mom over the years has certainly learned more about it. I think when I came to the poultry industry, it was a totally different thing. So she's still trying to learn after 9 years what I do for chickens specifically. But yeah, I think they sort of understand it. Yeah.
They're right there. Awesome. Well, it definitely helps if your dad was in it. He knows for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, moving into the marketing stuff, in your opinion, what changes have you seen in marketing since digital media and the internet have become really part of people's lives? And how do you feel like they should be incorporated into a company strategy?
Yeah. So I think everybody would probably agree digital is just part of the marketing framework now. So there is no questions anymore about should it be. It is. We're all consumers. I mean, you and I are both a consumer. We work with customers. And as consumers, almost everything we do has some sort of a digital aspect, or it's fully online. I mean, I think about Amazon. Like most people globally know what Amazon is now. And I mean, you don't even have to leave your couch. You pull up your phone or your computer, you order whatever you want, and you have it delivered right to your door. So you talk about a fully digital experience, and that involves marketing. I mean, that's just where we are today. And, from a marketing perspective, kind of digging in a little deeper, you and I have talked about data before and the importance of data for marketers today. And there are so many tools and new technologies out there now that have sped up the process of not just gathering data, but analyzing that, helping come up with stories of what does the data mean and how do we use this to create strategies or campaigns, or how do we reach our target audience. But I mean, that from a marketing perspective, again, those are some of the biggest changes that I've seen over the last decade or even couple decades, where technology has just ramped up so fast that the things that used to take days and weeks and months to accomplish, you can now do in a fraction of the time. So as far as like how it's involved in people's daily lives, I mean, that's just right in our face every day. I mean, you wake up and this is the first thing you pick up. You're flipping on the TV, your laptop, whatever. But from a company strategy standpoint, I think every company, whether they want to or not, is being pushed to have a digital strategy. Some of them have taken that full-heartedly and just, I mean, they've taken off, they've created teams, and they've got, full strategy groups and developers and all these other people involved. Some companies are a little behind and they're still kind of on the fence of, well, we know we need to do it, but we don't really know what to do first. So, I mean, companies have to move to the digital world, not just from an experience standpoint, but that's how customers, that's how consumers want to engage today. So I mean, what we're doing right now, I mean, this is how people interact and communicate today. So
we're digital.
Yeah, hopefully that answers the question. But I mean, we live in a digital world, and that's not going to change.
Yeah, no, that everything you said is pretty insightful. Amazon touched a lot. My job at home is to break down the Amazon boxes that show up every day.
Yeah.
Which, between three girls, who knows what it is all the time, right? So there's always something coming. To kind of jump on what you said about what we're doing. When we were kids, we'd get on the phone and be like, "Hey, let's go outside. Can you play?"
Yeah.
Or knock on your friend's door. Can Trevor come out and play today? Sort of deal.
Yeah.
My girls FaceTime all of their friends at once and sit there and they'll work on their homework or whatever they're doing. I think everybody's going there, and people are there and behind. So kind of jumping on the media and marketing going more into the digital world. Do you think producing and sharing technical content is important for brand positioning?
Yeah, for sure. Going back to the kind of that first question, I'll tie it into this one. We talk about just strategy for companies and what do you do with digital and how are you using digital to engage with your audience or to sell product or whatever it is. Technical content to me is one of the best ways to do that. So for our business, as an example, we sell a product for our company that's a chicken. It's genetics. So the technical expertise that comes along with that is part of what I would say the unique value proposition, the UVP, because that's the value add that our customers get from our business. And that could be for any business. So it's, you have a product or you have a service, whatever you're providing, but it can't just be that here's the line, you bought my product, now we're done. What is the next thing? So, I might try to use the example of like a YouTube video. It could be as simple as that, where, I've purchased this product or something has happened with the product I have. Well, where's probably one of the first places I'm going to go to figure out how to fix it? Well, probably YouTube. So whether you call that technical advice or technical expertise, there are all these different platforms today that it may not even be something from your company, but somebody is speaking on your behalf, whether they're a spokesperson or not. But again, as far as just sharing technical content, I think as a company, it's not something you have to do. But from my perspective, it's something you should be doing. Case in point, what I just said about YouTube videos, would you rather that information be coming from you, or would you rather it be some, whoever on YouTube or another channel speaking on your behalf that has nothing to do with your company? So, for brand positioning, I would use the other kind of phrase of, you need to tell your story. So if you're letting other people do that for you, it's not going to be the story you want to tell, most likely. So technical content is just one way. It's a tool to tell your story. But again, would you rather be you telling the story, or are you going to let somebody else do it for you?
Yeah, it's awesome that you brought up UVP and a tool. We're big on technical content, obviously, here at Wisenetix. It's kind of our bread and butter. And I hadn't even considered about the YouTube side of it. And at some point, it sounds like it's even protecting your brand by having your story out and being the story versus the other thing. I'm sure we could get into a whole PR conversation about that.
Oh, yeah.
But I'll dodge that. Kind of digging a little bit more into marketing and like the challenges there. What challenges are you seeing for Cobb Vantress in marketing? Being
a global company, one of the things that's just always a challenge is consistency. And that's outside of product. Consistency, I'm talking about, from a brand perspective or messaging or content creation, whatever falls under that umbrella. It's probably safe to say most global companies or corporations deal with that in some capacity. But I think, the other things that we would, that I would say from a global perspective, marketing is changing every day. We've kind of already talked about that from a digital technology perspective, but you always have to try to be 2 steps ahead. So what is the next thing? So if, let's say AI technology, there's all these tools out there now. So ChatGPT and other ones that are coming up every day, it seems like. So what is that next thing, and what do we need to be involved with, or what do we need to spend our budget on to make sure that we're staying, at the front and at the top of our game? I think the other big challenge, we're a B2B company, but from a retailer's perspective, or our customers that are dealing with consumers on a daily basis, just trying to keep up with consumer preference and the different trends that are happening. I mean, things are changing probably faster than they ever have. And as I said, from a content perspective, content is coming from everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this in our talk when we did the other webinar, but there's this generational shift happening too. And I think that's something that unfortunately is missed too much. But when you look at where the trends and the drive is coming from, you can get into what millennials have been. That's kind of been the trend, but now we're in Gen Z, and even the generations that are going to come after that, who knows what they're going to be involved with and what they're going to be pushing, whether it's agendas or trends and transparency and all these other things, sustainability. Mm-hmm. I think from a marketing perspective, half the battle is just trying to keep up with all of these different arrows that are coming on a daily basis. And, which ones do we need to pay attention to? Which ones do we need to let go? What technologies, if we don't have it in place already, what do we need to be looking at? And then from a tools side of things, we talked about data, and there's tools out there to help with data. But another big piece, communications always feels like it's separated from marketing. But to me, they're one and the same. They have to work together. So, how you communicate with your audience, with your customers, even with your own internal people as a business, that's changing. Mm-hmm. So you can't just send out a newsletter today and call it good. We've got push notifications, we've got mobile apps, and we've got all these other tools at our disposal to communicate well, which in turn helps support the marketing efforts. So it's really not a one and done thing. It's not I say it's like not a silver bullet approach, but you have to look at all of these different dynamics and all these different factors to help create that marketing strategy, which is probably going to change next week. So
it's staying in the race and trying to stay in front.
Agile. I think most people have heard of agile marketing. That's probably where a lot of people are today. Mm-hmm. You've got to be flexible. You got to be adaptable. Got to be nimble. So
I think it goes back to, what we were talking about earlier, and we talk about it all the time. It comes back to data. Yeah. Data is so fast now that decisions happen at the consumer level almost immediately. And that, of course, comes into business. So Fun times, always trying to staying in the race and being 2 steps ahead. Jumping kind of more into a personal, professional kind of line of questioning. What is the most important lesson that you've learned over the course of your career?
I would probably say patience. I was always that kind of that young gun that was just going 100 miles an hour all the time and was trying to get to the next thing and crossing off the list and all the fun stuff. But over my career, I think that's one of the biggest things I've learned is that sometimes you just have to slow down. Sometimes you have to wait for things to happen. You can anticipate all day long. You can try to be ahead of the curve, but sometimes you just have to wait. And you could take that in a number of different directions, but
sure.
To just answer it simply, I think patience is probably one of the biggest things that I've learned over my career.
I love it. I don't even need to expand on it because I'm going to be patient about it. But I find this interesting because I know my answer. At what time of the day do you feel that you get your best work done?
Oh, that's an easy one. So my alarm goes off at 4:45 in the morning. I would say my prime time hours is from 5 a.m. to about 11. So if you want the best of Trevor, that's your window right there. So we're in that window, Darryl, today, by the way. I kind of get a second wind probably about like 3 o'clock, but I've always been a morning person, and that's when I'm kicking. I get my coffee and I'm ready to go.
That's like me. You wake up 15 minutes before me, so props to you. Yeah. But that's when I get my best work done too, is first thing in the morning. I'm a morning person. No one else in my house is a morning person. So like, especially on the weekends, Darryl gets stuff done.
Oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah.
I'm with you there. And you're in the window too. We're in the best of Trevor and Darryl mode right now.
Perfect.
Trevor, if you could be remembered for one thing, what would it be?
Got a legacy question. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say I don't want to be known or have that legacy of just the business guy or, hey, Trevor was a great employee or something like that. I want to be known as a person that treated other people the right way and that helped my team grow and develop, personally, professionally. There's a phrase that's been around a long time, and it's kind of one of my go-to phrases, but people may not always remember your name, but they always remember how you make them feel. So if I try to boil it down, like one thing that I want people to remember is, hey, how did Trevor make me feel? And he made me feel like a valued person, an important person. So
I think you're going to cross that one off, Trevor. I think you're going to give that a check mark and be good to go. Every time I've talked to you, it's been amazing. And I'm sure coworkers, friends, family, and all that feel the same.
I hope so.
I know for sure you're checking that one off. Tied to that question a little bit, what's the best compliment you've ever received?
So I would probably go back to a thank you card that I got from a former intern. It may seem a little odd, but we had this intern for about a year. It was a simple thank you card, but it basically, I'll kind of paraphrase, just said, hey, thank you for treating me like a real person. And you gave me real work. It wasn't just like, hey, you're a student coming out of school. Here's some grunt stuff to work on, but it was real progress. Right. And basically they just said they felt valued as a part of the team. It wasn't just like a summer job or something. So for me, that was kind of a special thing that I was able to help this person develop and grow over a year. They ended up going on to something else. I wish we could have kept them here, but yeah, for me, that was one of probably the best compliments I've gotten in my career.
That's an awesome compliment and super touching and totally half check mark already on what you want to be remembered for on that one. So final question before we kind of wrap up here. If you could go back and give your 18-year-old self one piece of advice, Trevor, what would it be?
Don't be too hard on yourself. So I think that's something I personally have always struggled with. I'm harder on myself than I am on anybody.
I'm there with you.
Don't be too hard on yourself and enjoy the ride. Those two things right there.
I love that advice. I'm the same as you. I'm my worst critic, and I've beat myself up, especially when I was younger. I'm sure you did too.
Oh yeah.
Beat myself black and blue. Trevor, it's been awesome having you here. One last question for you. Where can our listeners find you online?
Yeah, probably the best place is on LinkedIn. Just look up Trevor Gies. You see Cobb Vantress, you got the right guy. That, or you can, if you want to email me, my email is trevor.gies@cobbvantress.com. Pretty easy, but yeah, those are probably the two best ways to get a hold of me.
Awesome. Well, Trevor, it's been awesome talking with you again, and thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
I appreciate it, Darryl. Have a good one.
You do the same, and thank you everyone for listening to the Wisenetix Podcast. Darryl signing out.